Alrighty, we are live. Hello, hello, hello. Good evening and welcome back to the Law Entrance YouTube channel and to another session of the Hindu analysis. Today is 26th March 2026, and I hope I'm audible, visible. PPT is also visible. If everything is okay, and if you have joined the stream, I would appreciate some responses in the chat, please, so that we can start our discussion. Good evening, Ruhi. Welcome to the class. वेटिंग फॉर द रेस्ट ऑफ द स्टूडेंट्स टू ज्वाइन. उसके बाद स्टार्ट करते हैं. थोड़े से 10-12 लोग आ जाएं. Seems to be awfully silent today. Are people busy with something? Is today's class clashing with something else? Okay, that is, voice is very low. ऐसा तो नहीं होना चाहिए. What do you mean by low? Like volume wise? I'm speaking normally like I do every day. Guys, am I not clearly audible? Okay, Saranya is here, Siddhi is here. Am I clearly audible to you guys? Or should I switch the network? Just give me a quick yes or no. Volume. That is something which I'm hearing for the first time. It's on your end, Mugdha. The issue is probably on your end. आपको आपके लैपटॉप या स्मार्टफोन की वॉल्यूम बढ़ानी पड़ेगी. Okay, ठीक है. Nitya is here, Siddhi is here, Kuvira is here, Saranya is here, Ruhi is here, and everyone has confirmed that I'm completely audible. So, ठीक है. Yash is also here. Good evening, guys. Welcome to the stream. Let's start today's discussion. आज का न्यूज़पेपर काफ़ी छोटा, short and sweet, simple सा है. Not a lot of articles which would be relevant, but 3-4 हैं जो हम डिस्कस करेंगे on the PPT as well as on the newspaper. Let's start without any further ado. Anirudh is saying won't be able to attend today. चलो ठीक है. Thank you for informing. Take care. हम लोग देखते हैं आज का agenda. 3 articles. One is the headliner. 2 of them are headliners. One is regarding clean energy emissions, our targets. One is regarding changes to the Udan scheme. And then there is another article which talks about Vande Matram and what is Vande Matram? Is it compulsory? Is it an advisory? And we'll discuss the background of Vande Matram as well. So yeah, these are the 3 articles which we'll discuss today. Surprisingly low turnout hai aaj. Wondering why. But ठीक है. Nevertheless, let's start today's discussion. Let's move to the newspaper and start with the first article. Also, the network today at my place is acting a little strange. My Wi-Fi router is somehow acting a little strange today. So, बीच में अगर मैं 1-2 सेकेंड के लिए गायब हो गया तो please don't panic and leave the class. ठीक है, हो सकता है ऐसा हो. Disclaimer दे रहा हूँ इसलिए मैं अभी से. But we'll try to ensure that everything goes smoothly. ठीक है, चलो. मुझे चैट बॉक्स में क्या ही बताओगे, मुझे खुद ही पता चल जाएगा नेटवर्क जाएगा तो. बट ठीक है, इफ देयर इज एनी डिसरप्शन इन ऑडियो और वीडियो प्लीज लेट मी नो इन द चैट. बाकी आई होप अभी तो सही चल रहा है, तो करते हैं हम क्लास स्टार्ट जल्दी से. दिस इज द हिंदू न्यूज़पेपर फॉर द डे. आई थिंक इट्स विजिबल. सरप्राइजिंगली नो यूपीएससी का एड टुडे. दैट इज क्वाइट अ breath of fresh air. Anyway, let's start. Iran dismisses US bid to end conflict, sets its own term. Okay, before I start with the first article, I want to address 2 things for people who are watching live and for people who watch it later. I got a couple of comments which said that, sir, हमें कुछ समझ नहीं आ रहा, prep कहाँ से start करें and which article to read, which not to read. And आप जो क्लास में समझाते हो वो भी कभी-कभी थोड़ा complicated हो जाता है. So first of all, that is okay because you are new to current affairs and you are new to geopolitics, new to finance, new to a lot of different subjects which the newspaper has. It's okay. Okay? It's okay to not get everything. You'll slowly get there once you start attending classes regularly. That is one. Second is I would also try to be more beginner friendly. I would try to break down things in more simpler manner. And third is whenever you don't understand anything which we discuss, whether it's an article, whether it's something on the PPT, whether it's vocabulary, whether it's some strategy, I would really appreciate that you guys just ask me in the chat box to explain it once again. I would be more than happy to explain it twice, thrice, and as long as you guys don't understand it. So yeah, that is something which I wanted to put out. Some of you also asked me in comments to uh, just speak in English so that my non-Hindi speaking audience understands the class completely. That is what I strive for in almost all the classes, that most of the communication happens in English, but sometimes things get bilingual, and I don't want to apologize for that because that is something which I find to be most naturally coming to me, and I find myself teaching the most effectively that way. But I understand your concern as well, that you don't understand Hindi sometimes. What you can do is whenever you don't understand something which I explain in Hindi, if you're watching it live, you can ask for a clarification, you can ask me to explain it in English once again. I would be more than happy to oblige. And if you are watching it after the live stream, then why are you doing that? Please come to the live stream. All right, so let's start now with the first article of the day. Iran dismisses US bid to end conflict, sets its own terms. So US extended proposal that we can discuss and resolve this conflict, and Iran said no. We're gonna not end our nuclear program. We all know what is the conflict about. We all know the background context. We all know Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was killed, and the US proposal was for a ceasefire, that we should stop fighting, and in return, we'll remove the sanctions on Iran. And in return, what should Iran do? Iran should end its nuclear program and reopen the Strait of Hormuz for global use. Iran said, no, sorry, thank you. We're not doing this. They rejected this proposal, calling it unrealistic. Iran has laid out 5 demands, or let's say conditions, to end the war. What are the 5 conditions? We've discussed this previously as well. The first is complete stop to attacks and assassinations. Second is compensation for the war damage which has happened. Third is guarantee that there will be no future attack. Fourth is ending fighting on all fronts. And fifth is recognition of its control over the Strait of Hormuz. And if all these terms are satisfied, then only Iran would end the war, which means they would end the war only on their own terms. That is what they said. An Iranian official said that US proposals are excessive and not realistic. And Trump said that talks are happening, but Iran said ऐसा कुछ नहीं हो रहा है. Nothing like that is happening. So yeah, that's pretty much what the current situation is. Both the sides are still fighting. In the newspaper today, you'll also see that now the US is planning to send 1,000 special operatives, troops, paratroopers to the battlefield. So things don't seem to be, de-escalating by any means. Ruiz saying, got your email. Thank you for your input. Chala, I'm glad. Ansh is here. Good evening, Ansh. All right. Center defense stand as opposition raises Pakistan role in West Asia. This is not that important. It's mostly politics, which was being discussed. And the discussion was how this West Asian conflict, the Iran-US conflict, how is it affecting India? So there was an all-party meeting which was held by the government to brief all the political leaders, and our Foreign Affairs Minister S. Jaishankarji criticized Pakistan, calling it a middleman, saying that Pakistan is acting like a mediator between the US and Iran since 1981. And with regards to India's position, India is staying neutral and balanced as of now because we have a lot of diaspora in West Asia, and we also have strategic and economic ties with the US, with Israel, with Iran. So we can talk to all the parties. And we have a unique diplomatic position here. And Modi ji and Iranian leaders are in touch. Modi ji and US President are also in touch. We recently saw 2 Indian ships safely cross the Strait of Hormuz, and a few more are expected to cross the strait soon. Talking about the energy situation in India, our petroleum minister, Mr. Hardeep Singh Puri, said we have 74 days of oil reserves left. So there's no immediate energy crisis as such. And the LPG supply demands are also, increasing, but it would improve soon enough. That is what is happening as of now on the war front. Okay, let's move ahead. India raises clean energy ambition with 60% non-fuel power goal by 2035. What this simply means is by the year 2035, we want to generate 60% of our power from non fossil fuel sources. What are non fossil fuel sources? Solar energy, wind energy, hydro energy, and nuclear energy as well. And what are fossil fuel related power sources? Coal, etc., thermal power plants, and all. As of now, predominantly we produce most of our energy through thermal power plants, through coal, which is a fossil fuel. So these are our clean energy ambitions. We'll talk more about this on the PPT. Right inside, you see significant rise in China border patrols after Galwan clash, says the Ministry of Home Affairs. And this Galwan clash happened back in June 2020, where skirmish happened across the line of actual control. And उसके बाद से diplomatic relations between the two countries were also not that great, but things are getting better now, and the patrolling also increased after that incident. So that is a report which has been released, annual report by the Ministry of Home Affairs, which said that patrolling and strict vigil were increased across the border. City based news is usually not relevant for us, so we'll skip this. Good evening, Aryan. Got a little late. No worries. Aradhe is here. What is the quiz topic for tomorrow? It's current affairs. Current affairs for January, February, March. Good evening, Gopal. Aradhe is saying, ladies and gentlemen, I think I know what one of our GK paragraphs in CLAT will be. This war. Yeah, very high likelihood, very high probability for sure. Okay, let's continue. Then this is mostly state politics, nothing important for us here. Kaveri Basin to face a dry spell until 2050, says a study. So, Kaveri is a river in South India. And this is a study which is published by IIT Gandhinagar, where they are looking at how climate change will affect Indian rivers. And they're saying most Indian rivers are expected to see more water, which means a higher flow due to increased rainfall. But the Kaveri River is an exception here. It would see a decline in water flow in the next 25 odd years, and it's already seeing a drop in flow in the past few years. And Kaveri River is a crucial river for the southern states. It is also in news quite often because of water dispute. आप लोगों ने सुना होगा, you must have heard Kaveri water dispute between two states. Which South Indian states? Which two South Indian states usually have a dispute over the waters of Kaveri? Can you guys tell me in the chat box? जल्दी से. Are they saying, so are there times when city news can be relevant? Yes. When? Because Delhi is a capital city, is the capital city, not a capital city. And काफ़ी सारी चीज़ें होती हैं दिल्ली में which are significant from a national news perspective as well. So अगर दिल्ली में कोई ऐसी significant activity होती है which is relevant from a national perspective, that is national news as well, even though it is under the city news section. So that is when it can be relevant. No, it's not to do about sensationalism. It's more about relevance. Gopal. Charmi is also here. Sorry for being late. आज सब लोग late कैसे हैं? How is everyone late today? I was a little surprised and slightly worried as well that where's everyone today? But ठीक है. Slow and steady आ रहे हो आप लोग. देर आए दुरुस्त आए. Good evening. Karnataka and Tamil Nadu is the right answer. Absolutely correct. These are the two states which keep on fighting for the waters of River Kaveri. And less water would obviously worsen these conflicts as well. So, yeah, that's pretty much what this project says. They're telling how, river interlinking projects like connecting the Godavari to Kaveri could help transfer some water surplus to the deficit regions. And this study was done in multiple locations, and they applied their statistical models and all of those things, tried to minimize error and try to be as accurate as possible. So, yeah, takeaway यही है that Kaveri would face water shortages in the near future. Okay, moving ahead, let's see what else is relevant. Avi Mukteshwar Anand and AID get Allahabad High Court relief in the POXO case. POXO is Prevention of Children from Sexual Offences. तो इन पे जो है केस लगाया गया था of alleged sexual abuse of two minors, 14 and 17 years old. And now the court said that there was a delay in reporting the case. The case was reported after 6 years, and it seems to be, politically motivated, and there is no medical evidence as well which can conclude his crime. Okay, LPG shortage affects students preparing for government job exams in Patna. Long queue at petrol pumps. Minister says no fuel shortage. Ram Navami, today is Ram Navami. Oh, nice. Happy Ram Navami to everyone who celebrates Ram Navami. Best wishes. Okay, transgender persons amendment bill, flawed fix. This we have discussed a couple of times now. The recent transgender bill, which was passed, which updates the 2019 law, which also transgresses the 2014 Nalsa versus Union of India judgment, and proposes some changes in the definition, rights, and processes of how things work with respect to transgenders. Now it's a more narrower definition of transgenders, limited to traditional identities. हिंदी में जो हम words use करते हैं, these are words like हिजड़ा, किन्नर, etc. and intersex people. Now this excludes people of different gender orientations, sexual orientations, and gender fluid identities because it removes the idea of self-identification. In simple terms, earlier people could identify their own gender. For example, there's a person ABC who is born as a male, as a man, but later identifies as a woman. He believes that he should identify as a woman. He should identify as a she. Let's say some people write she slash her right in their Instagram bio. So that is how gender identification is, where you can tell that you feel associated to the feminine gender or any other gender for that matter. But now that gender identification requires approval from a medical board. So it's not that simple now. State is exerting more control over your gender, and surgeries which are done to change your uh, biological sex would now be reported to authorities, and certification process has become more bureaucratic with medical intervention. Now this bill, what it does is it sort of confuses the two keywords, which is sexual orientation and gender orientation. Sexual orientation is biological. Either there can be only three possible biological orientations, right? Either you are male with male reproductive organs, or you are female with female reproductive organs, or you are an intersex person with both the reproductive organs or some dysmorphia. Now, gender identity, on the other hand, is personal identity. So, a person who's born as a biological male can identify as a female, or vice versa. Or there are other spectrums as well: gays, lesbians, queers, and so on. So now this self-perceived identity key right has been taken away, and this is sort of a rollback of personal freedom and dignity as well, in my opinion. That is what the article as well says. And the intersex people are now overlooked because they're biologically different from transgender people, but the bill sort of groups them together, ignoring their unique needs. And there's no clear ban on non-consensual surgeries as well for intersex infants. So yeah, those are some problems in the bill. Another thing is this now has stronger punishment for people, for forcing people into begging and servitude, but there's no real protection to protect vulnerable children, or there's no plan for education of such children or rehabilitation of such children. There's no regulation of surgeries. There's no requirement of no clear expression of what are the requirements for these medical tests and etc., which kind of increases the privacy risk as well. It does not address any marriage rights for these people, does not address any adoption rights for these people, no inheritance rights, no family rights, which means it still does not give them full legal equality, and ignores the challenges which are faced by them. So rules and penalties are tightened, but the deeper issues are still not fixed. Okay, I hope this is clear now. Charmi saying phone got taken away. Need to know the time. Okay. Yeah, exactly, Gopal. It's just half the audience today. Less than half. Crazy. Three, four people seem to be keep joining and leaving. Maybe network issues. Do you think bill will be changed? Obviously, has a lot of flaws. Does not seem to be changing anytime soon in future. Maybe if there is a regime change, if there's a government change, they can reverse it. But for now, I don't think so. We have stepped back. Welfare and distress. This is Kerala politics. This one you can skip. Democracy, dissent, and the national image debate. Those also we were discussing day before yesterday, I guess. Now, background of this article is the staging of protest at an international AI summit. Some members of Indian Youth Congress were staging shirtless protest at an international AI summit. They were protesting against the India-US trade agreement, and leaders from our current beloved ruling party called it anti-national, and the police arrested the protesters. Now the core question here is protesting at an international event harmful to India's image, and should we label such people as anti-nationals? Some might say yes, it's bad optics, it's bad PR for the country. Others might say no, it shows democracy in action and everyone has the right to voice their opinions. Now, the author of this article says that in a democracy, dissent plays a very important role. Dissent is disagreeing with the popular opinion. And he says that it acts as a safety valve. It helps citizens question policies and participate in governance. It helps them be a part of the governance process. And protests are normal, they are expressions of such dissent, even at global events. Now he discusses this key idea of a government versus a nation. And he says that government is not equal to nation. A nation or a state, what we call, is a permanent system. There is a land, there are people, there are institutions, that is nation. Government might come and go, sarkareं aati jati रहेंगी, but the nation stays. The state says. These are not my words, these are words from which political leader? Does anyone know this speech? कि सरकारें आती जाती रहेंगी लेकिन ये देश रहना चाहिए. Very famous speech this is. Political speech, but quite famous. So what I was trying to say is that the concept of nation, the concept of state is different from the concept of a government. Government is temporary. Government is elected leaders for a fixed duration of time. And the criticism of government should not be treated as a criticism of the nation or the criticism of the state identity. And therefore, because it's the criticism of government and it's not the criticism of the nation, it should not be treated as anti-national as well. That is what the article gives as a rationale, which I believe is a fair point. Now, he adds on to this by saying that strong leader politics tends to link criticism of leaders with the criticism of country, which is different. You're criticizing a leader, you're not criticizing the country. But that line lately, I believe, has been blurred. We have seen Twitter accounts getting suspended. We have seen so many crackdowns and the usage of agencies like the CBI and ED, the politicization of these agencies. So that is where the line sort of blurs between criticism of a leader versus criticism of a country, which the article says is not good for democracy. And yeah, that's pretty much what he says. He says how, there should be a balance between the federalism and the unitary exertion of power, which means, of course, we have a strong center, but the power is shared with the states, which is what federalism is. The strong center ensures unity, whereas strong federalism respects the diversity of the country. And sometimes protests do happen as a part of this diversity. Now, there's of course the role of media here as well, where the media people label such protest as anti-national, and that definitely shapes the public opinion very strongly. I think yesterday itself we were discussing how media, how even mass media like movies shape public opinion very strongly. There are multiple examples for that. How media portrays something shapes the narrative. You can talk about the Citizenship Amendment Act of 2019. You can talk about the farmers' protest of 2020. In many cases, these protests were portrayed as a threat to the nation, which is slightly sensationalizing the issue as well and slightly suppressing the dissent as well. And the bigger debate here is what exactly is nationalism if these people are anti national. If you are voicing something which you feel is against the interest of the country, how does that make you anti national? So it's not just about one protest, it's about can a democracy allow strong dissent without calling it anti national? And the author says that a mature democracy should do that. It should allow criticism. It should engage with dissent. It should not confuse opposition with being disloyal to the country. कि अच्छा इंडिया में पॉल्यूशन है ऐसा बोलोगे इंडिया में करप्शन है जाओ पाकिस्तान चले जाओ go to Pakistan. So that is a very slippery slope kind of an argument which Even I find amusing, and I disagree to it slightly, but ठीक है, it is what it is, and it is what the article says. Okay. Chat box में you guys picked up on the shirtless wala thing out of everything. Crazy. Uh, Shirtless because AI companies looted them so much they can't afford basic clothes. Yes, it was Atal Bihari Vajpayee who gave that speech, which I was telling you about. Absolutely right. Okay, cool. Moving ahead, left hand side you see Cuban sorrow. The U.S. asphyxiation of Cuba demands global condemnation. Condemnation मतलब criticism, asphyxiation का मतलब होता है गला घोटना, किसी की ऑक्सीजन खत्म कर देना. So what is happening is they're discussing the crisis in Cuba, and they're blaming, of course, Mr. Orange here for it, and they try to draw a broad pattern of how US actions are globally causing distress. What's happening in Cuba? Let's discuss that. US has essentially restricted Cuba's access to oil and fuel by blocking shipments from countries like Venezuela. We all know what happened with Venezuela recently, and now they're threatening penalties on other suppliers. People who would supply Cuba with the oil and fuel, they would also be penalized, which has created a very severe fuel crisis in that country. Now, Cuba as a country depends very heavily for electricity on fuel. 83% of their electricity comes from fuel. That is why you are seeing multiple blackouts and news related to people not having electricity out there. So that is what is happening. The garbage is piling up in the cities. Transport is getting shut down. Schools are getting shut down. Offices are getting shut down. Hospitals are struggling because all of this cannot function without decent electricity supply. Essentially, daily life is severely disrupted, and a humanitarian crisis is now emerging in Cuba. And the critics are saying that the goal of the US government is a regime change. They are forcing the Cuban government to change. And the US is saying it is targeting the government, not ordinary people. Some limited fuel is allowed for the private sector so that sustenance can happen. And as nahi hai that this is something entirely new, the US has had a sort of tight control over Cuba since 1960s. They have had trade embargoes on Cuba since 1960s, multiple sanctions over them. And the sanctions kept on becoming stricter, and since then Cuba has remained very economically isolated. They were very dependent on Venezuela for their needs, for their supplies, for their oil. Of course, people are calling it a violation of international law as well, saying that this is kind of economic coercion. You are coercing the country into chaos by putting economic sanctions, by stopping their supplies. And some countries are trying to provide humanitarian aid. Russia is one of them. But the article's key argument is that this action by US is very imperial and unjust in nature. This is hurting ordinary citizens, not just the government, and of course, hurting and non-existent international law as well. And they say that countries like India should speak out against such actions, and they should also provide humanitarian aid to Cuba via the global bodies, which is fair enough. So yeah, that's about it. What's going in the chat? Are they saying destroying foreign economies is unbecoming of a Nobel Peace Prize aspirant? So, see, he's not just targeting the Nobel Peace Prize, he's also targeting the economics prize. So, he's showing his economic prowess on how well he understands economies, how he can cripple economies. Maybe that will fetch him an economics prize for Nobel as well. That's one arrow, two targets kind of a thing. एक तीर से दो शिकार वाली बात है. Okay, opinion, energy transition driven by ethics. Now, again, this is regarding the West Asian conflict and the disruptions in fuel supply, all of those things. वही सारी चीज़ यहाँ पे discussed है that how India heavily depends on other countries for its fuel supplies. 60% of it comes from West Asia, and the closure of Strait of Hormuz has disrupted it and created shortages in the country. And the big dilemma for India is if we stop using fossil fuels too fast, there would be an industrial slowdown, collapse, because we don't have the alternate resources as of now. And the flip side of that is if we continue our dependence on fossil fuel, we will become vulnerable to global conflicts. We will not be able to meet our climate change goals. So, this transition to clean energy should be gradual, it should not be abrupt. Now, there are multiple advantages to renewable energy like solar energy and wind energy. First of all, there's no dependence on fuel imports. Second of all, it cannot be blockaded once installed. Third of all, they do provide us with some energy independence, but there are problems associated with it as well. Now, a lot of renewables depend on minerals like lithium, minerals like cobalt, minerals like other rare earth metals and elements, and the supply of them is highly concentrated with one country, which is not India. Which is that country? Which controls almost 70 to 80% of global supply of rare earth minerals. Can you guys tell me in the chat box very quickly? Not just supply, also the processing of such rare earth minerals. Any guesses? Yes, it is China. It's our Podosi dragon indeed. So that is what the article says, that that would be a new risk. That dependency would now shift from oil to minerals. पहले जो है हम वेस्ट एशिया पे ऑयल के लिए डिपेंडेंट थे, अब मिनरल्स के लिए चाइना एंड अदर कंट्रीज पे डिपेंड हो जाएंगे. सो दिस एनर्जी ट्रांजिशन डज नॉट essentially eliminate our dependency. It's just changing its form. And for these renewables to be successful, we also need a very high upfront cost. And when oil is cheap, renewables would obviously be a less attractive choice and more expensive choice, especially in such a situation where anytime any war can break out and the geopolitics is in a chaotic situation. So yeah, that is what the article says, that India's likely strategy could be, if oil supply stabilizes, we would continue using coal and gas, and we would slowly expand our renewables. But the crisis may force faster investment in renewables because, as we just saw in the first article, we barely have 70 odd days of fuel left. So he says that this fear is being used to push renewable energy. This energy insecurity is being used to push us towards renewable energy. But the real reason to adopt renewables should not be insecurity, it should be environmental protection. It should not be due to political pressure or economic pressure. And then he talks about the ethical concerns of it, that renewable energy is not a panacea, it's not a 100% cure to everything. It also has its own issues. There are mining harms to the environment because you're mining these critical minerals, whatever you have in the country. Second is human right concerns. A lot of these mining practices are not very humane in nature. Case in point being rat hole mining, which we have discussed in some few earlier classes, which happens in a lot of states. And the final takeaway essentially is that fossil fuels are a geopolitical risk and renewables are also not risk free. So best approach is striking a balance and gradually transitioning from non-renewables towards renewables. That is what he is trying to say. It's a good article. It's a nice article. Okay, Telangana's verdict is not important. What's at stake at the WTO's MC14? Let's see. World Trade Organization's MC14 stands. This is not a wrapper. This is Ministerial Conference, 14th Ministerial Conference, which will take place starting today to 29th in Yaoundé, Cameroon, which would be the highest decision-making body, this conference, and it meets every 2 years, empowered to make all decisions on WTO law and chart a path for organization's future. This is taking place between rising geopolitical rivalry between US and China, ongoing conflicts, and so on. So it would be interesting to see how WTO navigates these things. Let's read the gist of this. Key issues include plurilateral agreements. Plurilateral means involving multiple parties, multiple stakeholders, or multiple countries for that matter. The e-commerce moratorium, SDT, and restoring the appellate body with developing countries seeking to protect the WTO system. So currently the appellate body of WTO is dysfunctional, which means if someone violates the provisions of WTO, you cannot approach any body because it's not functioning as of now. SDT stands for special and differential treatment. So some countries do have this special provision, so that would be debated. Then e-commerce is electronic commerce, of course. Okay, why is Chennai's microplastic problem bigger than it looks? Let's read the gist. Microplastics, especially nylon fibers, are present in Chennai's beach sediments in relatively low abundance. But low overall microplastic abundance does not necessarily mean low ecological risk. Even small particles can cause long-term ecological damage by affecting marine life, moving up the food chain, and eventually impacting human health through contaminated seafood. Okay, fair enough. What is mineral water? How does it naturally contain dissolved minerals? Okay, so if you're interested in understanding how this comes into being, then you can read this article. Okay. All right. Vande Mataram advisory will discuss on PPT. It's an interesting article, which is basically Supreme Court's opinion. They say we feel you have vague apprehensions of discrimination, but please come immediately to us, as when you feel you have been discriminated against or singled out on this plank of this advisory. Ministry advisory on national song only prescribes protocol, and those who do not sing it will not face any action. ऐसा सुप्रीम कोर्ट का कहना है. Even then, there is burden on those who refuse to sing, argues the petitioner. Okay. And to that, the court has responded that we feel you have vague apprehensions of discrimination. Whenever you feel you are discriminated, come to us. We'll protect you. Congress gets notice to vacate its iconic 24 Akbar Road office. This is in Delhi. Address of the Congress for the past 5 decades. And अब उनको बोला कि पेटी पैक करो निकलो यहाँ से. Okay, Papa Rao, 17 other Maoists surrender in Chhattisgarh. Papa Rao is a very unserious name for a Maoist, but okay. Rajya Sabha brushes aside objections by opposition, starts debate on CAPF bill. We have discussed the CAPF bill already in previous classes. Immigration visa issuance scheme gets 5-year extension. This is the Immigration Visa Foreigners Registration Tracking Scheme. This has been extended till 2031. This seeks to interlink and optimize functions related to immigration, visa issuance, and registration of foreigners in India. Okay. Congress criticizes Modi government's U-turn on women's quota law. Game of Thrones, surfeit of faces for CM's post in Congress in Kerala. Love the title. Okay, this is basically Kerala State Assembly politics and deciding who would be the new CM candidate. India's newest voters caught an SIR adjudication trap in West Bengal. Names of 30 lakh Bengali voters under adjudication deleted. Okay. Transgender bill finally receives Rajya Sabha approval as well. And now after the president's signature, this would become an act. To resign from NCTP over the bill, Supreme Court panel calls to scrap bill on gender choice rights. They have formed an advisory committee who would now investigate this. Cool. Center asked RBI to keep retail inflation target at 4% till 2031. So RBI regulates your retail inflation through its monetary policy tools, multiple tools: repo rate, reverse repo rate, cash reserve ratio, statutory liquidity ratio. If you would have taken economics in standard 11th and 12th, you probably know what I'm talking about, although not very relevant from your CLAT perspective. But yeah, remember this 4% number that they have asked to keep it till 4%. 4% is a healthy inflation rate usually. Okay, Congress questions Supreme Court order denying scheduled caste status to Christians, Muslims, and others. We discussed this yesterday itself. The court said that they cannot claim it. India said to have bought Iran LPG after US eased sanctions. Sanctioned tanker Aurora carrying Iranian LPG expected to reach the west coast of Mangalore. Indian officials deny knowledge of cargoes being bought. Paradeep said to receive 7 million barrels of crude oil. Finance Minister defends centre's right to live ISS, says Constitution allows it. Okay. Cool. That's pretty much it, I believe. US to deploy 1,000 elite troops to West Asia. This is the latest update in the war. Interesting. Israel continues to pound Lebanon as Hezbollah presses on. Russia-Ukraine engage in a tit-for-tat aerial barrage. US judge questions government's motive for labeling Anthropic as security threat. Anthropic is the company behind the software called Claude, which I believe is far better than ChatGPT in its responses. That's just my review of it. Then IPL coming up in a couple of days. Cool. Gurinder Veer wins 60-meter gold in national record time. कितना है national record time? Let's see. Damn, 6.6 seconds only. New Milkha Singh. All right. Boxing coach Neva believes team building activities are important. Technique is right, performance follows. Cool. That's pretty much about the newspaper for the day, folks. Let's come back to our PPT, discuss the remaining articles. Chat देख लेते हैं एक बार. Caught up to the live. China. Yes, China is the right answer. Founder of Maoism is the Chinese word for cat. Okay. Supreme Court is only roadblock for this bill now. Yes. All right. Let's go. Clean energy emissions. Updating its climate goals, India has pledged that by 2035, 60% of installed electric capacity will comprise non fossil fuel sources. We also aim to reduce by 47% the intensity of emission per unit of GDP from 2005 levels to increase carbon sink to 3.5 to 4 billion tons. These targets make up the NDC, nationally determined contribution, which are to be communicated to UNFCCC, which is United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. As a signatory to the Paris Agreement, India was required to issue an updated NDC in 2025, which spells out its voluntary actions towards transitioning away from fossil fuel and improving energy efficiency measures. Fair enough. At the 30th edition of the COP, which was held recently in Belém, Brazil, Environment Minister Bhupendra Yadav said that India would announce the NDC by the end of the year. India's current NDC, officially conveyed to UN in August 2022, commits to the following by 2030: having 50% installed electric power by non fossil sources, reducing intensity by 44%, increasing carbon sink to 3 billion tons. The COP is a body of nations that convenes annually to discuss climate issues and transition their economies away from fossil fuel. India and Argentina were the only two G20 countries that had not announced a 2035 NDC as of December 31. Argentina was also recently in news for leaving an international organization. Which organization did Argentina leave? Can you guys tell me in the chat box? Are you guys following your daily one-liners, current affairs, daily updates? If you are, then आपको पता होगा. If not, then why not? Total of 128 parties representing about 78% of global greenhouse gas emissions had submitted their new NDCs by that date. These included 21 small island developing nations, 19 least developed countries, and 18 G20 members. Currently, 52% of our installed electric capacity comes from non-fossil sources, a target achieved well before deadline. Though only 25% of the power generated is non-fossil. These sources include solar, wind, hydropower, biomass, and non-nuclear. As of 2019, we have achieved emission intensity of 36%, carbon 6 of almost 2 billion tons. However, forest and tree cover is 24.6% of geographical area, which is higher than 21%, but still less than the goal of 33%. Okay. Then the government revamps the Udan scheme with changes in subsidy. In a significant policy shift, we have extended the subsidy period for airlines to select tier 2 and tier 3 routes from 3 to 5 years after a large share of those routes fell into disuse. मतलब कोई use नहीं कर रहा था उनको. The shift comes under the modified Udan scheme. Udan essentially was a scheme which was brought by the government to build new airports to facilitate air travel for a lot more people. Its full form is Ude Desh Ka Aam Nagrik, which means the common man of the country flies. Does not sound very right in English, but yeah. It's approved by the Union Cabinet with an outlay of 28,840 crores. This would also shift from a levy embedded in airfares to direct funding from the exchequer. This aims to democratize aviation and enhance regional connectivity, ensuring that even remote regions are connected by air. This was designed under the NCAP 2016 Civil Aviation Policy, the focus on connecting tier 2 and tier 3 cities through a market-driven yet financially supported models. Airport Authority of India serves as the nodal agency responsible for its implementation. Some other terms related to this are VGF, which is the financial support given to airlines to ensure affordable fares, because people from tier 2, tier 3 cannot really, take flights which are 8,000 rupees, 10,000 rupees. So some funding was to be given to the airlines by the government to ensure the fares are affordable, and that concept is called viability gap funding. So whatever is the gap which makes their operations viable, that would be funded by the government. So that is VGF. Then you have RCF, which is Regional Connectivity Fund, which was created to meet the viability gap funding required under the scheme. Cool. Airfare cap was to ensure affordability, reduce taxes on aviation turbine fuel and other concessions to airlines to make them viable, and collaborative governance between center, states, and airport authority and private operators. So that was the plan. Yes, WHO is the right answer to my question. Argentina recently withdrew from WHO, World Health Organization. Vande Mataram advisory, not a threat to conform. This is the last article for the day. The Supreme Court recently set the 28th January guidelines issued by the Home Ministry on playing Vande Mataram in full at public on ceremonial occasions are not a threat to conform and do not fall foul of constitutional freedom. It's only an advisory. Ministry feels the national song is as much as an expression of national identity. You may have a different POV. Our Solicitor General Tushar Mehta intervened to emphasize that respect to the national song was organic and ideally even advisory was not necessary. He referred to Article 51A, which made it a fundamental duty to respect the flag and the anthem. Mr. Hegde said that anthem and national song were distinct from each other. It was on 24 January 1950 that Rajendra Prasad, our first president, and president of the Constituent Assembly as well, he ended the controversy by saying Jan Gan Gan would be the national anthem, Vande Mataram would be the national song. When the parliament subsequently inserted 51A, it only spoke of the national anthem and not the national song. When both the national song and anthem are played at the same event, Vande Mataram must be played first, followed by Jan Gan Man. This establishes an order of precedence for ceremonies. The audience must stand to attention whenever the official version of the national song is sung or played, which is around 3.1 minutes long. And then you have around 50 seconds of our national anthem. 52 seconds ऐसे कुछ है ना? Let me check what is the duration of the national anthem. Duration डालने में धुरंधर 2 की duration is the first hit which is coming. Interesting. Yes, it is 52 seconds. I was right. So yeah, 52 seconds and 3.1. जो 4 मिनट जो है खड़ा रहना पड़ेगा आपको जब भी ये सेरेमनी होगी. बाकी वंदे मातरम की बात करें तो it was composed, also called Vande Mataram. It was composed by Bankim Chandra Chatterjee. First published in Banga Darshan in 1875, later included in Anand Math in 1882. It was set to music by Rabindranath Tagore, and it emerged as a powerful symbol of our cultural and political identity, embodying unity, sacrifice, and devotion. On 24th January 1950, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, the first president, announced that while Jan Gan Man would be national anthem, Vande Mataram, for its role in the movement, would be honored equally as national song. Our constitution does not explicitly mention national song. In 51A, it asks the citizen to respect the constitution, flag, and the national anthem. In 1896, this was adopted by the Congress. Rabindranath Tagore sang Vande Mataram in the Kolkata session of the Congress. In the Varanasi session in 1905, the song Vande Mataram was adopted for all India occasions. This was also the time when Bengal was being partitioned by which Lord? Who was the British general, Governor General, who oversaw the partition of Bengal? Jaldi se batao. Mass mobilization and press. This Vande Mataram Sampradaya was formed in North Calcutta to promote devotion to motherland. English daily Vande Mataram was launched in 1906 by Bipin Chandra Pal, one of the radical leaders, Lal Bal Pal, you all know. Later joined by Sri Aurobindo, propagates idea of Swadeshi, unity, resistance. It was also used as a political slogan on 7th August 1905 during student procession at Calcutta Town Hall, becoming the rallying cry of Swadeshi and anti-partition movement. ये बंगाल के partition की बात हो रही है. No one remembers Bengal का partition किसने किया था? That is crazy. Lord Curzon was the answer. Okay, let's do the vocab for the day. Seems like people are not very enthusiastic today. कोई नहीं. The first word is lachrymose. Lachrymose का मतलब होता है आंसू बहाना, given to expressing strong emotion by readily shedding tears, being emotional, tearful, weeping. The more lachrymose, more nerves at the funeral required a steady supply of tissues. Smiling, laughing, grinning are antonyms. The next word is larceny. Larceny मतलब होता है बिना permission कोई चीज उठा के ले जाना. Unlawful taking or carrying away of property without consent of owner. Robbery, stealing, theft. Issuing a bad check is also a form of larceny. The last word is denouement. Denouement मतलब किसी चीज की ending, finale, conclusion, final part of something. The plot takes us to Paris for the denouement of the story. So denouement is the last part, ending, conclusion. Larceny is the unlawful taking away of property without consent. Lachrymose is simply crime. With that, we come to the end of the session. Thank you so much for participating, folks. I would really appreciate a larger turnout tomorrow. If not, we will not be able to have our Menti quiz. 10 लोगों में तो मैं नहीं कराऊंगा for sure. But yeah, hoping to a bigger turnout tomorrow. Let's meet tomorrow same time, 8 p.m. Please come prepared. Bring more people. Till then, take care. Bye bye. Good night.